Shalom, this is Yair Davidiy speaking to you from the land of Israel. We're continuing our overall summary of the blessings and the predictions concerning the lost 10 tribes being amongst Western nations. We are going through very briefly the promises concerning lost 10 tribes, biblical proofs, showing who the lost 10 tribes were, and we have shown that the lost 10 tribes are to be found amongst Western nations. This is the truth, this is what the Bible says, and we are very briefly summarizing the relevant proofs concerning it. Now we already saw that geographically the lost 10 tribes were destined or predicted to be found at the geographical extremities of the earth, to be centered mainly in areas bordering the Atlantic Ocean, to be in isles of the sea, also to have outshoots in the south and the west in the land of Sinim, that is Australia, and that they were also to be in, relatively speaking, blessed areas, salubrious climates, that they were to be in the west of the land of Israel, to the north and to the northwest of the land of Israel, and also that they would be in many waters and several oceans, and that they would be in the North Country, and that there would be a pathway of dolmens or megalithic monuments, as Jeremiah explained in chapter 31 of Jeremiah, how there would be a pathway from the west of megalithic monuments leading back to the land of Israel, as indeed there is. And after that, we also pointed out that they would be represented by a lion and a unicorn, as found in the book of Numbers, chapter 24, that they would be associated with a bald-headed eagle in Micah chapter 1, that historically they would behave in such a way that we can also prove that they are the lost 10 tribes of Israel, that there will be a dominant world power, that there will be a military might, that there will be the battle axe of the Almighty. They would defeat Edom, that is Germany, and other European nations, that they would drink alcohol, and that they would be separated from Judah, not known to Judah, not be recognized as Jews. They would be unknown, their Israelite ancestry would be unknown to them and unknown to the rest of the world. And other proofs. In addition, we have proofs that they will be exceedingly numerous. The lost 10 tribes will be exceedingly numerous on a worldwide scale. We shall return to these blessings. So now we're just giving the outline concerning them, that they would have agricultural plenty, that they would have strategic gateways, strategic access and ingress to the potential enemies, to those who are antagonistic to them and a potential danger to them, that they would possess strategic thoroughfares, giving them a leeway over such potential adversaries. They would be ruled by the sons of David, they would be headed by kings on the whole, and also their ancestral names by which these peoples would be known those of the Hebrews and of the forefathers. And apart from that, we also have other things, other proofs from the Bible that are more philosophical or based more on linguistics, but are also important and also proofs. And one of these was, for instance, that Manasseh would become the epitome of democracy, as the USA has been. Also that America is named after Machir, the firstborn son of Manasseh, whereas on the other hand, Ephraim would be ruled by aristocracy, abide by the aristocratic principle. And we have similar proofs along these lines. We also have proofs from the biblical codes. We have proofs from numerous fields that are also involved with biblical studies. In this present talk, we're going to concentrate a little upon the blessings. Some of the blessings have already been mentioned, that they would be very powerful, that there would be a military power, that there would be in many oceans. But we go through a few more of them. First of all, the lost 10 tribes were to be exceedingly numerous, very, very numerous. In other words, we have to look for an ethnic group that is in the first ranks of the world. And the peoples we identify as being from the Lost Ten Tribes, that is the Scandinavian peoples, the people of Finland, and the people of the Netherlands, the peoples of areas in France and in Switzerland, and also the peoples of Ireland, of Wales, of Scotland and England. They're all more or less one ethnic continuum. They all belong to the same group of peoples. The Anglo-Saxon nations and related groups, they make one ethnic continuum to some degree. They are distinctive and they are very numerous when taken all together, and they include by extension, by cultural extension, also the peoples of North America, peoples in Australia and New Zealand and so on. There was all these peoples, you made that all these peoples are in effect composed of numerous others, of foreigners, of other people who came in and learned English, became part of the country. So that is first now. This is too is indicated by prophecy as to what will happen. And many of these others who came in are also descendants from Israel, as we have shown through our historical studies and also through biblical passages, such a thing as a homing instinct. Descendants of Lost Ten Tribes would converge and recongregate and recoalesce and come together in the one distinctive places towards the end times. And this is what is happening. And according to the blessings, we have the blessings that Abraham was blessed. Look toward heaven and count the stars, if you're able to number them. And he said to them, so shall your descendants be, in Genesis 15:5, and also he says in Genesis 22:17, I will bless you and multiply your descendants as the stars of the heaven, as the sand which are on the seashore, and your descendants shall possess the gates of your enemies. So here we have an additional blessing, possessing the gates of your enemies, which means strategic thoroughfares and strategic areas, as these peoples have, especially those associated with the Anglo-Saxon nations. They have possessed strategic places and thoroughfares. The British Empire, first of all, controlled nearly every important strategic pathway in the world, such as Gibraltar, Suez Canal, Cyprus, Singapore, Hong Kong, numerous areas in every place all over the earth which was important, that they had possession of it. After that, they set up bases in the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, all over the earth, and the USA has followed in their tracks. The USA has done exactly the same thing as they have done, and they set up as bases in the almost the same areas. And the USA and the Britain are one continuum, entity, one could say, one continuous historical being, one continual historical trend of activity of gaining control of strategic areas close to potential adversaries and setting up bases and gaining control of such regions. And this is the blessing of possessing the gates of your enemies, or the gates of those who hate you. It still was a blessing, along with being an extremely numerous people. And so too in Genesis 24 verse 60 it says, and they blessed Rebekah and said to her, our sister, may you become the mother of thousands of 10,000s of millions, tens of millions, and may your descendants possess the gates of those who hate them. So too we have similar blessings in Genesis 32:12, in Numbers 23:10. It says, who can count the dust of Jacob, number 1/4 of Israel? Let me die the death of the righteous, and let my end be like his. And so too Isaiah 10:22, it says that Israel shall be as the sand of the sea towards the end times. And so too in Hosea 1:10, so these are the blessings. In addition, had the blessings concerning agricultural bounty, agricultural plenty, when it says they shall be given the dew of heaven, the fatness of the earth, and plenty of grain and wine, 27:28. So too the God of your father will help you, and by the Almighty will bless you with blessings of heaven above, blessings of the deep that lie beneath, blessing of the breasts and the womb, 49:25. And of Joseph he said, blessed of the Lord is his land, with the precious things of heaven, with the dew, with their deep lying beneath, with the precious fruits of the sun, with the precious produce of the months, Deuteronomy 33:13-14. And so too in Isaiah 2:8. In addition to that, they were blessed that they should possess mineral resources. As it says in Genesis 49:25, the Almighty will bless you, the blessings of heaven above, the blessings of the deep that lie beneath. The deep that lie beneath, meaning mineral resources, and that was part of their blessings. Blessings of the breasts and of the womb, that is, fertility and a good life. And of Joseph he said, blessed of the Lord is his land, with the precious things of heaven, with the dew and the deep lying beneath, that is, the mineral resources. The precious fruits of the sun, with the precious produce of the months, with the precious things of ancient mountains, with the precious things of everlasting hills, in Deuteronomy 3:13-15. And so, these blessings of mineral resources of agricultural bounty, because the USA, Canada, and also Britain in the past, the British Empire, they produced most of the world's agricultural surplus throughout history. They still do. And also most of the world's available mineral resources, exported mineral resources, come through them, are in their control. And this has been going on for centuries, in one way or another, and this is part of the blessings that the Lost Ten Tribes were promised. It was predicted that the Lost Ten Tribes should be named after the forefathers, see Genesis 21:12, the forefathers, and also Genesis 48:16, concerning Joseph, and their rabbinical commentator Kabbalah mentions concerning Joseph that it's important that his descendants should be known as Hebrews, and also Abraham was known as the first Hebrew. We have this name Hebrew repeated in history amongst the so-called Celtic peoples, that all the Celtic peoples were in effect known as Iberi or Iberi, which means Hebrew. The word Celt that we apply to these people is a modern term applying to a certain type of culture, but all indications are that they actually call themselves Eber or Eberni or something similar, or Eber, words or range of words that may be traced back to the same root of Eber or Eber, which means over or beyond, and is the name from which we have the biblical word Hebrew, and that is what they were known as. Jacob. Jacob blessed the sons of Joseph. He says, the angel has redeemed me from all evil. Bless the lads. Let my name be named upon them. And the name of my fathers Abraham and Isaac, and let them grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth. So we have these names, and we have shown how these names may be traced back to the names of the forefathers. Abraham the Hebrew, his descendants were known as Hebrews, Iberi. Also Isaac, the name Isaac became a Scythian or Saka, or Isaac or Zohar, similar list of names which are all related to each other, and ultimately relate back to the name of Isaac, and they were names applied to a section of the peoples who settled in Western Europe, descendants of the ancient Scythians. And so too we have the name Yaakov. Yaakov is a name which is applied to Americans. Americans are nicknamed Yank overseas. Yank is a short for Jake or Jacob. And no matter what its origin, that is how the name Yank is used in the spoken vernacular. In Yiddish and in Hebrew, Yank means Jacob. And this is what the portion of these peoples are known as Yanks. And we have other names. Altogether we have more than 70 names representing the 70 clans of Israel, and we have traced these names and shown how these names are also to be found amongst the different peoples and in history who made up the ancestors of the peoples of Western Europe and their descendants overseas. Thank you. May the Lord God of Israel bless you.